Good evening, good people. Welcome to B.L.E.S.C in the City.
Oh my goodness. We have Rashid over here channeling his inner Kali. As you can see, the big back invasion, Mr. Kali Moore the Great, is not with us right now. He is a little bit detained, and we are hoping that he'll be able to make it this evening.
Yep.
But before we get into any particulars, the first things first order of business is the disclaimer. And it goes as such. Any of the conversations or views that you hear discussed this evening, it is explicitly the opinions of the people that is sitting on this panel this evening. It does not reflect Kearney Point Studios, nor its employees. And you know what? It does not reflect B.L.E.S.C organization. Because sometimes we say things, and I feel like that
shows today.
That needs
That's
to be
the
a
disclaimer for today. Continue.
For today,
yeah,
it may not reflect B.L.E.S.C organization, okay, and its members and presidents. So I am relieving them from anything that we may discuss on the show tonight.
Some things are going to be said.
Some things going to be said, and I'm relieving y'all from, Anyway, so that is the disclaimer for this evening. And peace and love, kings and queens. We are back, and we are so happy to be here because I have this great brother sitting to my left over here, Mr. Ibn Shakoor. And of course, I can't forget, I'm sorry, Rashid. We got Rashid back with us.
Oh, no, I'm celebrating my bro.
We missed you last week, though.
Bro.
We missed you last week. So Rashid is back with us. I think him and Kali are like tag team and they taking turns, okay? I think that's
Pause.
what it is. So before we get to speak to Mr. Ibn Shakoor, I did want to go to Rashid so he can discuss our segment, whatever he has for B.L.E.S.C in the City. I mean, B.L.E.S.C in the City.
Hitting the block. So, everyone, there's a lot of great things that are going on in our community. Unfortunately, we can't tie them all down. But I just wanted to give a shout out because Anti-Violence Coalition has been doing their thing for almost a decade now. It's a beautiful organization. You can always find them at antiviolencecoalition.com and .org. The beautiful thing is, about it is that they're unity focused. And what I mean by unity focused, there is a unity gala going. And that organization has been around doing some amazing work, especially when it comes to, reentry work and helping teens and youths to find placement in, vocations like hardware, OSHA, construction, etc. So they're doing their own thing. Come out and support them at their Unity Gala. The Unity Gala is going to take place on the 28th of May. So it's just right around the corner. So if you can purchase a ticket, I believe the tickets are between $125 and $150, but it's going to a great cause, a great organization that's doing a lot of great work in our community. And then they're going to double up on that and have to focus on the June 10th event, which is, an annual unity walk. And that's pretty much where they walk from one end of Jersey City to the other end of Jersey City. That's going to start at 10 a.m. I don't have the specifics as far as where it's going to begin, but it's amazing. You've been a part of the unity walks before, right, bro?
I think I've been to at least one. Which one are we on now?
I believe that we're like Unity Walk number 7 or Unity Walk number 8. It happens so often, it's ridiculous. And I do recall a year where, B.L.E.S.C was actually involved and stuff like that, because B.L.E.S.C is always involved when it comes to community unity, especially as it's focused, on, ending violence in our community. So shout out to them and all the great work that they do. And I just wanted to say shout out to I Love Greenville. I just came from an event, and, a lot of us don't talk about it, but today is also, this month is also, we have awareness for Down syndrome.
No,
autism.
Autism appreciation or acceptance. I'm sorry, autism acceptance month,
which is
it's very different.
Very, very different. And I just came from because it's also financial literacy month. So I Love Greenville just had a event that I literally just came from, and they were playing the Rat Race game. And this is a game called Cash Flow. It was invented by Robert Kiyosaki. He is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, an amazing book, especially when it comes to your beginning steps of financial literacy. I would encourage everyone to go purchase the book, and shout out to the organization I Love Greenville and your Jersey City Free Public Library, because I didn't know that there was an F in the middle of it. Pause. So that's always a great thing, and shout out to them and their collaboration and teaching people a little bit more about financial literacy. That's pretty much all I have for Hitting the Block.
I have a few things as well that's going on this weekend. Also, I wanted to mention, we mentioned a couple. So first of all, I realize that every month has some type of awareness or acceptance or whatever. April has like a trillion things.
Yeah,
if
there's a
that's
lot of
even a
things going
number,
on.
there's a lot of things going on. But I'm a poet, so I have to pay homage to it being National Poetry Month. And I just wanted to put that out there. But in addition, this weekend, Jersey City is having its first marathon. That's historic. That is historic. And there is going to be a lot of closures going on starting Saturday the 22nd. So the marathon will be Sunday the 23rd, but the closures are going to begin on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's going from Washington Street / Boulevard all the way up to Christopher Columbus, Garfield Avenue. Just avoid anything that you see saying road closures, because this is the first time Jersey City is having its marathon. And a lot of times when you have the first of things, there's a lot of, chaos. We're going to hope that everything runs smoothly. In addition to that, I do want to mention that the Frederick Douglass Juneteenth celebration is having their third annual Juneteenth Unity Gala. That was a lot.
That was a lot.
Woo! Let me
You know
try
how
that
she
one
get
more time.
excited when she starts talking about Juneteenth. You know how she is.
Yes, I do. Power to my people. So once again, the Frederick Douglass Juneteenth celebration is having their third annual Juneteenth Unity Gala, and that is May 7th. For tickets and information, tickets are sold right on Eventbrite. So if you just put in a search Frederick Douglass Juneteenth Unity Gala, that'll come up. Or you can call the organization's president, Mr. Mofala Minga, and his number is 201-681-1116. And I hope that you guys all come out and support that great event. And the last thing that I'm going to announce for the Hitting the Block is, drum roll please, Mayor Fulop has announced that he is going to run for governor. And
This was the part where I did that whole cross thing, even though I'm not religious. This is why I did disclaimer for Rashid. Continue, please.
Listen, disclaimer for everybody. So congrats to Mayor Fulop and his announcement. That's very awesome for him. And I'm just gonna leave it right there. Yeah. Why y'all looking at me like that?
Oh, I'm just waiting.
Man, that cliffhanger was trash.
I mean, there's so much that I want to say, but I'm hesitant because, I feel like the mayor has done some great things in Jersey City.
Okay.
However, I also feel like he has done some not so great things for people of color in the city. I feel like it's the tale of two cities. And I feel like a lot of things that could have been done on the South Side, especially as it pertains to activities for children and just pouring into education, I think he lacked in that area. And I spoke with him about that. We've had him on the show, and I've spoke with him about that. But I don't know if what he did or didn't do for Jersey City is going to reflect what he can or can't do in his governorship if he does become governor. All I can do is say congrats to him and his team, and good luck, and whatever happens. And that's whatever you guys want to chime in and say, but I don't want to spend too much time.
Like I said, for one, anyone's, mobility is great. He comes from Jersey, Edison, right? Wherever.
Or Rhode Island.
Never mind. Oh, yeah. But no. All jabs aside, just to be, we have a rich legacy here in Jersey City as far as, people going from there and going into the governorship. So this is a strategic point, like when it comes to Jersey City, it's a strategic area because you can find yourself going up, and upwards in mobility, and that's a great thing. So, it is what it is. I will say when I was younger, I remember being a part of a lot of the things that Schindler had going on when, I remember the Schindler basketball tournaments and the baseball, the T-shirts with the. I remember him because he was very, very, very involved with our community, and I don't know if, other people might feel that way because I'm not in that age demographic where I idolize, things like that. I do recall Cunningham and seeing the upwards mobility of his wife as well, because even she went up in the ranks, needed to go, she would go on to become the whip, in the Senate and stuff like that for New Jersey. So that was a great thing. So, I look at those things and I'm like, well, I can see the attachment between the people that I notice on a regular basis and their attachment with their mayor. And I don't know if that was necessary, there for the tenure for this particular mayor for whatever reason. And like I said, I've never done a study, so I couldn't, all I can do is go by voting records and stuff like that and look at that. And it would appear anyway that, there's a bit of a disconnect, and I would just hope that if he is successful, that he can do something that can address that appearance, because that's the way it appears to me. I think that, this might be something for people in Newark, people in Irvington, people in other, municipalities where they're heavily black to start asking questions, because a big, question that we might have here in Jersey City is pretty much what did we benefit from this, this extended term. And I don't think there's ever been given an obvious answer. Maybe that would be a good time for him to speak on it himself.
I think that politics are difficult, and I think that when people are in positions of leadership and positions of power, especially when you're the head, you're attacked.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that
as you should be.
As you should be, because you're in that position of
Heavy
power.
is
You're in
the
that
head
position
that bears the
crown,
Yep.
right? I think that with all of the development that's going on in Jersey, that's what a lot of the residents are angry about, right?
No one cares about the development. They care about the things that come with it.
They
Call
care,
it what it is.
They care about exactly, but it starts with the development, starts with the display. Because there's a study that I recently saw that said that literally Jersey City rent increases are like 33% higher. And this is an all-time high for Jersey City. And when you look at other areas, New York is down.
Well, in all fairness, a lot of people are going to give you some pushback and say that that's not going to be on just one person. You can't just throw all that on the mayor because he's in the position of power that he's in. And that's the feedback people are going to give you. But there was a slogan that said, it was a general statement to the rest of the nation: Jersey City, make it yours. So when you have slogans like that,
and then you
people
contradict
can automatically
yourself,
associate, the changing of, times with you. And if the change is positive, then, that's a good thing. But if people perceive that to be negative, again, as a leader, you have to take that in stride. And, I'm pretty sure any person in that kind of position is, willing to do that, not going to take any slights, not going to feel any type of way or cut people off or cut off their comments and stuff. He's going to be with the smoke.
So, well, the cutting off of the comments is quite interesting that you would bring that up, because when he made his announcement, he did cut off his comments. But
oh, seriously?
Yeah, he did. When he made his announcement, you couldn't comment on any platform that he made.
I want to switch topics because I don't think there's going to be any way to stay neutral.
But before we do switch topics, because I really want to get into our guests. That's really my main focus, or our main focus. But before we do,
I'm learning.
What I will say is this: I think that when you're talking about the development in Jersey City, if you look at it from a homeowner's perspective, you're driving up property value, which as a homeowner who's looking to possibly sell down the line, or somebody who's looking to buy, buying in Jersey City is like almost impossible right now. But if you're looking to sell down the line and what profit you would gain as a homeowner, it's like, listen, the mayor made my property go up. It's worth this, that, and a third significantly more than it would be worth had
There's an obvious caveat to that, though.
There's an obvious caveat to that.
It's your property taxes.
Well, this is true because property taxes have also skyrocketed in Jersey City. So, I mean, listen, it's a lot going on in Jersey City. It's a lot going on politically in Jersey City. And that's another topic for another show.
Yep.
I'm going to close this segment by saying congrats to the mayor and his announcement. I hope the best for him. But more importantly, for the residents of Jersey City, for the residents of New Jersey, and those who are watching this show, listen, don't complain if you're not going to vote. And don't vote if you're not going to do your research. And I'm going to close it with that.
Well, vote even if you're not going to do your research.
No, do your research.
It's strongly encouraged. I'm never going to tell someone not to vote. I'm just going to laugh at you based off of your choices when it negatively impacts you. But
I'm going to encourage you to do your research, because a lot of people complain, but they're not educated. And listen,
nice one.
You have a computer literally in your hand. Google these people, okay? And then hold them accountable for the promises that they made.
Google, not goggle.
I said goggle?
Google, not goggle.
Did I say goggle?
No, but still, there's some people who need to understand the distinction.
Okay, Google. Okay. Now.
You know she's typed in goggle before because she got self-conscious just right now.
No, I didn't. I have the Google
There's been a
toolbar.
goggle
I don't need to. I'm just making sure I didn't say the wrong thing, right?
She might have been a goggle.
Yes. Mr. Ibn Shakoor, it is a pleasure sitting next to you, King, educator, therapist, entrepreneur. Oh my gosh, he wears so many hats. Creator.
Poet.
Yes.
Artist.
Keep going. Keep going. There's more. And
Bro.
soon to be
Father.
Doctor.
Yeah. Soon to be doctor.
That's big. But let me tell you something, okay? I feel like, and Rashid spoke to this behind the scenes, I feel like if it's in you to pursue that level of education, go for it. If you got the money to pursue, because it's costly, you know, if you got the money to pursue that level of education, go for it. I think I'm tapped out. I think I'm good with my bachelor. I think I'm good. But I commend any person of color, especially a Black man, who wants to continue to pursue education in its highest form. And I commend you for that. Can you speak to that right now? Because that's something that you're actively involved in right now. So can you speak, tell the people what you're doing right now?
As far as education goes, I am at St. Peter's for higher education, take EDD, my doctorate. Everyone has their own like motivation for why they do it, you know. Some people want the validation, some people want the title, some people want a specific job position. For me, it's not about validation. I was just telling Rashid that. But I understand where I want to go professionally and as an entrepreneur, and I feel like it was worth the risk of me accumulating the loans, because I'm kind of betting on myself like I've always done. So
there's no better bet in my opinion.
Yeah.
No.
There's nothing better to bet on. So
absolutely not. So
if you're for yourself, who can be against you? That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
So, and how is that? Because my sister-in-law just defended her dissertation, and I keep telling people that, like, I know what that means. I have no idea what that means. I know she went up to a panel she's been studying for months on end on this dissertation, and she just defended it, and she's about to be Dr. Bermudez. So could you just elaborate on what that's been like for you?
Well, I didn't start my dissertation. I started this summer.
Okay.
And it's going to be connected to hip hop.
Absolutely.
So
because that's your focus with education, putting them
focus.
together. Right.
Creativity. Like even if I'm not mistaken, I think Bill Cosby had his doctorate, like his EDD. So
He did.
He did, right?
Yes.
So he used Fat Albert at the time for his dissertation, whatever that was, like the impact or influence of whatever his cartoon. So, you know, that's where I want to go. Not where Bill Cosby went.
But I get you. Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. Allegedly. But, you know, I want to use that for my credentials to branch off into the creative world even more.
Right. So now that we've gotten into the hip hop thing, and I'm gonna bring in your career within the education system, and how important is the arts in education, especially in our community?
Well, you know, for me, you can just throw away the whole structure of the educational system. Like, if you ask
Snaps
me,
on
like,
that.
Garbage. You know what I'm saying? There are elements of it that, you know, that are necessary because, you know, you want us to be literate and everything like that. But to me, the arts provides balance and social, emotional learning, and it kind of can bring parts of the student out that aren't addressed on a day-to-day basis.
Or
you know?
stigmatized, correct?
Stigmatized.
Right.
Yep.
So I was going to ask something, because I've been following Ibn forever. Anyone knows this is like one of my pure brothers right here. Helped us out with the 28 Days of Blackness. You can literally hear his voice in our intro. But what is actually, because of the hip hop stuff and me watching some of your the classes that you've actually held when you were doing your marketing, there is a lot of stigma when it comes to children, ADD, ADHD, and all these other classifications that they have. And I was watching something by Jordan Peterson when he was saying that these kids aren't necessarily, bad kids. It's just that the educational system doesn't provide them with a safe space to act towards their true nature.
Yeah.
Kids who are creative are extroverted.
Right.
Because they're touching all bits of the universe and they're trying to understand how to process that. But when you sit them down in front of a shell desk and a shell classroom and a shell, instruction,
Boxing
then
them
you're
in.
going to box them in,
Right,
and then
right,
they
right.
can't really be creative. You're going in for your doctorates, and your doctorates is associated with behavioral, like understanding,
with
and
the hip hop and all that. Yeah.
and you're also adding in something that is culturally relevant to kids of of all demographics, but
Specifically a particular demographic. I would say.
exactly. So what I was going to say is the merging of those two, and we're talking about how kids are like falling, between the cracks. How is your brand of education and what it is that you're doing going to help the generation that's coming next?
I think for me, it's about like social capital, like the messages that are passed down to generations socially, right? Like if you have a strong family structure,
Yep.
You might get love passed down, like love languages, like rich dad, poor dad, that
Correct.
type of information.
Right.
So for me, it's not so much about the music, but if I can have 10 kids in the studio creating with me, I can use that time to give them messages and information that only hip hop can kind of captivate them to receive those messages.
And I like that because it's really, Erica and I, like, we're not always on the same, end of the table when it comes to education, particularly when it comes to public schools, charter schools, and other, things like that. But I think what we're most aligned with is the fact that education, like the way traditional education is, needs to change. So when you say things like, all right, well, like reaching out to them in a, like an environment or in a way where it makes more sense to them, isn't that like educational equality? Isn't that something that you and I discuss on a regular basis?
Yes, we definitely make some discussions about where the education system is, but I'm with Ibn over here, and I'm
Yep.
like, it needs to be completely dismantled. I'm a creative, and I feel like
Creative bias.
Yeah, definitely.
You see the creatives, they just like burn it down.
yeah, for real. I'm like,
Yeah.
burn it down.
And rebuild it, right? Like
Because and restructure, not just rebuild, right?
Yep.
But restructure, because you could burn something down and build the same damn thing. You know what
Correct.
I'm saying?
Correct.
So it needs to be burnt down, trampled over. It needs to, whatever they did with the chromium cleanup, we need that crew to come in and like completely restructure it all together, because I feel like, first of all, everybody learns differently.
Correct.
That's first of all. So to have this classroom and everybody sitting, and trying to focus on a teacher, it's difficult. Not everybody has that can do that, because sit down and just, I feel like kids, you need to reach out to them in terms of meeting them where they are and how you can connect to them, whether it be creatively or whatever is their language. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the biggest problem with the education system, is that, first of all, it's a control mechanism, right?
That's what I was going to say. There's no problem for what its intention is.
yeah,
Right.
it's working.
It's
Fine, right?
working. Yeah. Well, that's the first thing. You need to attack that, because, you want to keep people in control. I think we need to go back to educating our own. Okay? And with us being on the forefront or at the door of Mental Health Awareness Month, I believe that's what May is.
Yep.
You're passionate about that as well, because you're a
Yep.
therapist.
I'm a therapist. Yep.
So
And a patient, client.
and listen, this is
Not
what I
only-
this is
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, because our community, okay, it's kind of taboo to even talk about it. One, it's taboo to even express that like you said, you know, like the hair club for men. I'm the president and I'm a client,
Yeah,
you
right.
know? So it's kind of, it's a breath of fresh air to hear you say that.
That's fine.
How important is it to have that attitude that I am a proponent of mental health, but I also subscribe to getting that help?
It's important because I think when people hear mental health, they think mental health disorder, as opposed to like just the state of your mind. You know what I mean? So
Of course. Yep.
you know, so it's important because for me, I didn't have a choice. I got so jacked up to where I had to surrender. Like, you know what? Let me see what this is about because this ain't working for me. I'm jacked up right now, and I'm being nice the way I'm saying it right now.
No, don't be nice. I did the disclaimer. You good?
Oh, I can curse. And all
Yeah,
that.
go
Okay,
all
yeah.
in.
So I'm 37. So when I was about 27, I was fucked up. I had like 26. I had like a whole breakdown. At some point, I'm gonna speak on exactly what it was and elaborate, but I'm not ready to in front of people because it's such a stigma around that particular condition. But yeah, it just having that mindset keeps you open to growth and change, and some of it is maintenance, some of it is personal development. It's not always about the worst case scenario like schizophrenia or bipolar or and there's nothing wrong if you have that, you get the treatment. But
I think the problem is that when we talk about mental health, that's literally exactly where we go.
Yes.
I'm not crazy.
Ain't nothing
I'm
wrong
not
with me.
bipolar. I'm not. Well, no. But you have to understand that, you know, having uncontrolled depression is a form of mental health issue.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people do it. I find myself in a position where sometimes I just get depressed. And I feel like maybe I'm not accomplishing at the speed in which I should be accomplishing things, or I've made certain sacrifices for myself, you know, like, all right, well, you know, like, no, I'm killing it right now, but I forgot what color my kid's favorite color or something like that. There's always going to be something that's going to trip up in the brain because the brain is always looking to improve, you know, at least for the most part, if you condition it that way.
Yeah, and solve
mental health
problems.
is easy. Yeah, mental health is very easy to say, I have mental health, you know, like issues that I have to deal with, because we all do.
Now,
Everyone.
I have a question because seeking help for mental health, I think that's where the problem
it's
comes
not
in.
easy. I'm not even gonna lie. It's not easy.
It's not easy. And I think that most people think about movies, like you're laying on the couch and you're talking to this stranger. And
That's the most comfortable, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean-
the
It's
kind
part
of
of it.
scenario.
That
Because
is-
it's the
that is
stigma
true.
that I think of, like, oh, I'm not nuts, I'm not crazy.
But with
see-
telehealth too now, telehealth.
telehealth,
Yeah.
but I mean, but most people have this stigma like that. First of all, I'm talking to this stranger. And
Yeah.
who are they to help me or whatever the case may be? Are there other forms of therapy other than just going and talking to somebody?
Oh yeah, there are other forms. You have group. You have like for kids they have play therapy. You have art therapy, music therapy. People specialize in different things. I think like the couch thing, for example. I forgot what philosopher or therapist started that, but I think the most important thing is the therapeutic relationship. Like you said, stranger, right? So there's nothing wrong with going through a list of therapists and saying, I like this person or I don't like this person. Because the therapeutic relationship is it's just like having a friend, right?
Yeah.
Like if y'all don't click,
Then you don't.
yeah,
you know?
it's just like
And I think
Effort.
that's my biggest problem because I suffered from postpartum depression with my first child, and the therapist that I had was amazing. And then she no longer worked for that.
that's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough.
So after that, it was hard for me to want to open up to anybody else. Like I've been to other therapists and I went and I talked to them and I felt like, you know, they're trying to shove medication on me and listen, I don't necessarily advocate for medication, but also if you feel you need it, that's on you.
I don't take anything away from it, because
Yeah.
that's a stigma as well.
It's a stigma as well, but some people need it. Listen, this is something that not too many people know about me, but listen, I'm about putting it out there because you never know whose story is going to help somebody, right?
Yeah.
I suffer really, really badly from anxiety and panic attacks, and medication helped me.
Okay.
So I go through periods where
What kind of?
I'm going to tell you, I've taken
because
I can't take
Collie's not here, so Go ahead, Ms.
I
Bermudez.
can't
Go
do
ahead, Ms.
any type
Bermudez.
of narcotic. So I took Visceral, which is really like Benadryl.
Okay.
It's really
You get it from your primary physician,
I
right?
could, but I was getting it through a psychiatrist. And I wanted Visceral because I did my research. And a lot of people don't do their research. I did not want a narcotic. I did not want something that was going to have me with all of these adverse side effects.
Drowsy.
Not just drowsy,
Suicidal.
libido issues.
Yeah.
Libido issues.
Yeah.
Did I say
We
libido
don't- we
issues?
don't want that.
No,
I'm
no,
too
no, no,
young.
no, no, no. Okay, no. So like, Prozac can dry you up, and then they'll give you something else to combat that dryness. Or it can be adverse. Prozac can make you sweat, night sweat. So medication does a lot of crazy things. I did my research. So she gave me a list of things, and I said, I want to try this one. Needless to say,
Okay.
needless to say, my point is this. Those people who feel as though they need it, I'm not a
Everyone's situation
strong,
is
everybody's
different.
situation is different. But my biggest issue with moving forward with therapy is finding that relationship. And that's the hardest part because I found
Wouldn't
somebody.
that be the hardest point?
It
Because,
is.
I mean, you're going with your initial, and I'm not trying to diagnose that. That's what Ibn's here for. But you said my first experience was so great, and then, basically, there's some bad seeds in between, but it's like, well, like no one else had met me
Met
at that
that-
level.
yeah, exactly.
So, like maybe the next person doesn't have to meet you on that level because that person was there for you at a specific time in your life that is not likely to be repeated, right? So the next person just comes in and he doesn't get the maternal Erica, or she doesn't get the maternal Erica, but she gets the successful, stressed Erica.
But see,
and she
this-
can relate to you more there.
But see,
That's
this
interesting.
That's interesting.
All right.
But you have to remember, mental health has layers to it, right?
Of course, yeah.
Especially if you're somebody who went through traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
So even though when I spoke with that particular therapist, I was going through something else in my life. But there may be traumas from my childhood that might
Yeah.
come up in different times of my life. And it's
Triggers,
like
or triggers, yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
it's like finding somebody to talk to about those things, or finding somebody to just keep yourself balanced. You know what I mean? It's difficult having to find that relationship. And then it's like you meet one and it's like, not a good fit. You go down the list, like you said, go down the list. To the point where you get to, man, I don't want to talk to nobody.
But
That's
there's-
why I asked
those,
you-
those are real issues, though.
Yeah, but that's why I asked you
understand
what
why that's
other forms
complex.
of therapy. So when you mentioned art therapy, it's funny because I literally was in Michael's and I bought like a dozen canvases. I wasn't in there for canvases. I was
You
in there
paint?
for something. I will.
You're about to. And there's
I'm
people who
about
do
to. I
that.
bought
Yeah.
canvases, paint brushes. I don't know
Acrylics.
why. Acrylics. I don't know why I did that because I didn't go into Michael's for that. But it was on sale. I was like, you know what? I'm going to paint these troubles away.
And then there's a difference between like things that are therapeutic and going through the process of therapy. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that I do that are therapeutic, but I also needed to go through like a full therapeutic process and address traumas, put things in front of me. People don't really understand how helpful and healthy it is to dedicate, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, dedicate an hour to just talk about you. Like you're putting everything in front of you, and instead of it being in here, it's in front of you, and you're talking through it, and then you'll even have your.
I dedicate 30
Aha
minutes
moment.
a day.
You know
I'm not
what
gonna
I'm
lie.
saying?
It's a part
Exactly.
of my mental health. I also suffer through PTSD. And that was just my experience with working at a high stress job. I used to
Stress
be
will
a law
do it to
enforcement.
you.
Yeah,
So I literally, I had, I'm not going to go too heavy into it, but the first horrific scene I've ever seen was a man get stabbed to the point where his he punched in the lung.
I
So,
think I'm
like,
having
yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I didn't really know what was really going on with me, and like I had a fight and some other things that were going on, with my job at the time and stuff like that for my own survival and things like that distracted me from it. And I realized that years later that. Like I had issues with anxiety. I never understood it. I have an extremely high tolerance to pain. So I reading like a lot of the stuff that comes from like some of my guys, was Les Moonves or something like Tony Robbins and things like that. there were exercises in some of the coaching challenges with Tony Robbins where you would dedicate a certain amount of time every day to writing out, you know what I mean, like not like a planning or an itinerary of your day, but pretty much the enjoyment and the satisfaction that you're going to get from these tasks in the moment and post.
Yeah.
You know, like after the moment. And to be 100% honest, I translated that to my morning running, you know what I mean, in the summer times and stuff like that, where I share that with other people, but on a regular basis, I do find a way of relieving myself, you know what I mean, like of, you know, stress and things like that, because I focus more on those things. I think it's made me highly productive and stuff like that.
Hey, where your morning messages? I haven't seen them in a while.
Bro, because it's cold. You know I run when I do those. It's too cold out here to be doing that. But you'll get them, you know, as soon as this spring start acting like spring, you'll get them. So when what I was going to ask you is, it's like, it's good for the identification for a lot of these things. What are some of the things that people can take with them? And is like exercises for themselves, like meditation is a form of therapy.
Oh yeah, I love
meditation. So what is it that people can do if they find themselves in a high tension position, or just in a position where they're not identifying with themselves in?
There's
That's a
this
good question, by the way.
documentary that's out right now. It's on, I want to say Hulu. It's called Stutz.
I just saw that advertised. Yeah.
It was Jonah Hill, and it's his therapist, and he interviews his therapist. Did you see it?
So no, I did the same thing. I saw it.
I saw it advertised. Yeah, I was watching Wu Tang.
Yeah, I have to admit. Yeah,
I was watching Wu Tang and it was advertised.
I'm getting through the Mandalorian and everything else, and I can't commit to anything until I finish the last two.
That's how I felt about Wu.
I recommend it.
That's how I felt about Wu Tang.
I'm with the Wu.
But
you were to your point.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. One of the things that he said, which is a lot of us say in therapy, is the first thing that you can focus on if you're going through those things and you want to make change is your body. Right?
Okay.
So if I'm
that.
having a panic attack, or if I'm really anxious in the moment, or even if I'm stressed about a relationship, all right, I can't get a divorce tomorrow, but I can go for a walk. Because you're practicing mindfulness, and you can start to alleviate the symptoms and the stress to recenter yourself. If you're focusing on that first, you can bring yourself back, so you can have clarity, so you can kind of like work through those other things.
Does that fall under CBT, like the cognitive behavior therapy at all, or is mindfulness independent of itself?
Mindfulness is a part of CBT, because CBT is, for those who don't know, it's that cycle that helps you break like habits, right? Like if you're about to have a panic attack, all right, something happens that triggers me. It's like thought, feeling, then behavior.
Right.
Right, the thoughts and the feelings, sometimes we can't help that, because if you have PTSD, you see something, it's like, oh shit, and then I feel scared. Now I want to leave the building.
Yeah.
The behavior is where the mindfulness can help you say, all right, I'm not gonna leave the building because it's gonna make it worse, and the next time it happens, I'm gonna feel even worse. So I'm gonna take a seat, I'm gonna breathe, and I'm gonna let it pass. So as you practice that, you'll notice that over time, the symptoms will decrease. I'm not saying it's going to be completely gone, but it'll decrease. It's just like if you're scared of elevators. Someone's scared of elevators, have a phobia. If the more they avoid the elevator, anxiety feeds off of avoidance. That feeling is gonna be stronger and stronger. But if they slowly, when they feel that fear, they slowly get on it anyway, each time that happens, the symptoms will decrease over time.
I've noticed that, and I'm not familiar with the terms because it's not my field of expertise, but it's literally something I practice. So
we do it without even
center
realizing.
and try to push through. You know, I never want to give into the moment, because then you become a slave to whenever it happened to you. You know, like in my case, that would have been almost 15, 16
and
years ago.
I know you, so you're a strong brother, you're a strong sister, so I can see y'all like practicing that, and you know CBT, so that gives you the language to navigate it. You're like, all right, this is what I'm doing.
I have my oldest son has mental health. He's 20, and he has some mental health problems.
You're 25.
Listen, let's not do that anyway. He has some. So for me, I wasn't about to sit up there and let people throw these labels on him.
Yeah.
So I went, not just that, I wasn't gonna, like I said to my point about medication before, I wasn't gonna let people throw medication on him. So when I started to notice certain signs in him, I did my own research. And when I was looking for therapists for him, I'm having these conversations. Do you use mindfulness in your therapy? How do you go about cognitive behavior therapy? And they're looking at me like, yeah, I'm that mother.
You have to speak the language
you
in
gotta
order for
talk the
people to
language.
take you
because
seriously.
if you don't talk
yeah.
the language, they can sell you with anything. But I wanted to let them know that.
Yeah, here's Ritalin. He'll be okay.
Yeah, no, that's not. I'm educated, and I want the information so that I can get him the help that he needs to make him be a better him.
Blessing.
So now that we're fully into talking about therapy, right? Is there a difference between seeking therapy in a general sense and grief therapy? And what does those two, are they independent of one another, or do you need to seek a specific therapist to handle grief?
All right, I'm gonna put my, like, if I'm being that I'm on the inside and the outside, if I knew someone that was going through like serious grief or grief overall, I probably would seek out someone who specializes in grief counseling. A lot of therapists who do CBT and things like that, grief is usually, I'm not gonna say usually, but a lot of times are a part of their repertoire.
Okay.
But there are people who specialize in that, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. So I probably would seek out someone who specializes in
Because once again, in my research, I find that grief is a completely different thing.
It's like a whole thing, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's a different thing, and trying to seek help is difficult because you never know when it's going to hit you, when it's going to hit you, how it's going to hit you.
That's triggers though, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that like can't anyone be triggered? Like, because I mean, when it comes to grief, you know what, and it's not a specific person, but as soon as I hear Sarah McLachlan, in the arms of, and I could find somebody to cry about.
Yeah.
For real.
So grab a hold of it.
Because I know, I'm just gonna not reach, but I just know that, my connections to pain are, in my opinion, unfortunately, I numb myself out. I had to learn how to feel. Because I've kind of like disassociated myself from my feelings for a very long time, and then that's when I started to have physical anxiety to where like,
So
what's going on with
you're
me?
reacting to keeping it bottled in.
Yeah, I told
it's
myself
the
that it's
body's
not a
natural
problem.
reaction. Yeah.
I think that there are certain circumstances in my life where I felt like a complete sociopath, where I was like, I have no idea
That's your trauma
why.
response.
Yeah, my trauma responses.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. So what?
Trauma responses.
Yeah, that's your trauma. You learned that behavior. I
I don't want to be diagnosed. I'm not crazy. And this is why people don't like that. No, I say that in jest, because this is why people don't like to have the conversations, because they're scared of those labels. And it's been said that
Look at
earlier.
my hat. You see my hat?
I love your hat. I meant to. Oh, by the way, another disclaimer: we did not plan this army fatigue.
Yeah, they did.
No, we did not.
They said, we're going to wear green today, Rashid. And I just went out silly and just got me a thermal. And then they came in warm and fatigue. So they didn't lie, but they lied.
Not true. Not
They didn't
true.
lie, but they lied.
Not true. It just, you know what the creative mind
There you go.
thinks alike.
So I ain't got no creative mind. See how they add into my mental traumas?
Hey,
Sorry.
the way you did that website, I think you did that.
But to your hat, I love that because, you're walking around and it's a conversation. First of all, it's red. And
Thought it was a MAGA hat.
I thought, I was like, yo, what is he about to do? But then when I looked, I was like, oh, that's dope. I might need to get. All I saw was the red because I saw
I've
him
heard
from the
that a couple
side.
Disassociated? All right, well.
When I came out to get him, I saw his profile and I saw this. I was like, what the.
What he about?
What he about to come in there with? But I appreciate the hat because now I want to get a shirt that is like, I might go get a T-shirt and paint on a T-shirt.
Because you're saying a lot without saying anything.
Without saying anything.
So I was somewhere and I was talking to this lady and she was just like, older woman. She was like, I hope you're not bipolar. I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, well, you just talked to me for 20 minutes. So like, what is that like?
What does that mean?
You know what I'm saying? So.
And why do you hope that I'm not
right.
bipolar? Do you think your acknowledgement of it in this moment right now is going to make me chew your face?
Exactly.
Like, what is that? People,
Exactly. And there's a stigma
people.
around, even around bipolar, because it's like, I think I want to say I saw Kanye West. He said it like, and I'm not co-signing anything he does. I'm just saying, in that moment, he said, I'm a fan of Kanye. I don't agree with everything he does, but I'm a fan.
I'm a fan before he got. Never mind. We'll get into that That's for another show.
I got to see y'all this clip because he articulated bipolar so well people think it's always opposites.
Mm-hmm.
It drives more of how you already feel, right? So you look at Kanye's behavior, that is Kanye, like who he is.
It is.
But if he's like in a manic or hypomanic episode, you're just going to get who he already is. He's going
Times
to
10.
Unfiltered. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you know, at its most potent.
I
Exactly.
never looked at it like that. And that's a really, really interesting perspective because
and some people go high.
high, some people go low.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have
That is
depressive.
bipolar.
Yeah. Yep.
No, but you have different forms of bipolar as
Yeah.
well. You
Yeah.
have depressive bipolar. You have
Yep.
manic bipolar.
Well,
So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's why
takes
bipolar,
you-
you know what I
yeah.
mean, is
It's a
what it
spectrum,
is.
like
it's
one
a
to-
spectrum.
yeah.
Exactly. It's a spectrum, and I think that's an interesting way. I think if people approach it that way, they will respect people that much
I
more.
just think people have to stop putting stigmas on.
And do your research, like
yeah,
you said.
on
Oh,
mental
yeah,
health.
I'm a
We
huge
remember
proponent of that.
homosexuality was manic behavior.
Yeah.
It was considered that. You know what I mean? That's the history books and how we used to treat homosexuality with electroshock therapy.
Yeah.
You know, like, can you imagine, like, hey, what's your sexuality? Zzz. Still like boys. Zzz.
Yep.
All right, girls now. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
that's what we did.
Wow.
Because in this country, you know what I mean, we've made it very easy to stigmatize people
Yeah.
who are going through mental health issues, you know, especially the more pronounced ones like bipolarism, you know, or, you know, manic depressives
Manic,
and things
or
like that, or
schizo.
schizophrenia and things like that. We demonize them despite the fact that if we provided people with help, there are some medications that would actually help people
would.
and benefit them in their lives.
It would. You know,
So-
I had a what did I have? I had like no one would ever know that I had an episode before. No one, you would never be able to tell because people, especially people who are high functioning. You know what I'm saying?
Can we do these?
Okay.
High functioning.
High functioning?
Yeah.
I was kind of like.
No, I was gonna say I'm high functioning. I'm
You know what I mean?
extremely.
I was including you in that. But
No,
Yeah.
but I'm you know, I put on a good smile.
yeah, of course,
Yeah,
and that's what
yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Well, high functioning doesn't mean that you don't.
Right.
Yeah, it's just acknowledgement. Yeah.
Your
Right.
personal lives, your children, your professional lives, and you know it shows up. Mental health disorders show up differently for different people.
Right.
I think that is just something that should carry on into a much deeper conversation, or not even deeper, because everybody wants to be deep. Why not casual?
Word.
Why not a
Yeah, I
casual
like that-
conversation?
that approach
Way
better.
more casual.
Yeah.
Normalize it. Now, we are at the end. I believe I've heard people say of this pandemic, right? It's over now. I believe that's what they said.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they might be announcing another shutdown. We don't know, right? But how
hope
important is it for our children? You are in the school system, and I know that they have this whole social emotional learning thing that they're really, really supposed to be focusing on. But I feel like we're kind of straying away from that. I feel like the school system isn't doing enough to help students process their social emotional learning, particularly with children being disassociated from society for so long, not being able to socialize with their peers, not being able to go outside. I think that the school system needs to do a lot more with talking and normalizing children, verbalizing
I think
how
the
they
school
experience that.
system needs to concentrate on doing better at what they do before they
But
jump
that's a-
into new arenas.
I don't think
where we're
that's
like,
a new
oh, well,
arena.
this social. Well, here's the whole thing. Was there ever a concentration that were put in place before the pandemic? And the reason why I'm going to say that there was no concentration is because the pandemic has placed dollars in those things. So they become social terms. And schools have often gotten away with their balance of using keywords and key phrases. Well, this is social and emotional, conversations. Like, no, this is talking to the guidance counselor where he tells me, that I feel a certain type of way and don't allow me to express it.
But see, that's
like
not-
it's always happened. So what has changed? What is change in if it's always been a part of what it is that the educational system has brought forth, and now they're just doubling down on it because of the pandemic. Okay, what was going on before that was so useful and benefit, and how did it benefit the children before? That's my only question when it comes to the school system going into different avenues. And I know you're saying that no, it's a part of the norm.
No, I'm saying make it norm is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying
okay.
what they've rolled out isn't enough. And I say that because I see children, and I'm sure you see it as well, children.
Because I was in the classroom for a little while.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see children who struggle coming into the classroom, and they show their struggles behaviorally.
Absolutely.
They're acting out.
That's
there's
why I
something.
became a therapist, because I couldn't reach them in the social emotional aspect in the classroom. I had to catch them before or after.
So this is why I'm saying they need to introduce something where, well, in the lower grades and middle school and lower and primary classes, 45-minute classes, right? 45-minute blocks. There needs to be some type of, even if it's a 30-minute group or something like that. And I'm not saying all children, all students need this, because even as adults, some of them are high function. Some people can function, but some children may be able to move on. But for the children that you see have the biggest behavioral problems or whatever, is maybe pulling them out and talk. And I know
I think my biggest
some people do
caveat there
this. Some
was,
people do
why
this.
not bring outside in? Why not bring in an Ibn Shakoor? Because that's where
Absolutely. That's why I
that's
say-
my
yeah.
argument is like the school should stick to the school and then bring in third party organizations and groups to come and aid in instead of just saying, oh, I'm taking on a buzzword, which is what I'm accusing. I am publicly accusing the school system of doing.
trendy.
They adopt
Trendy.
trending
I like
topics
that,
and
yes.
trending buzzwords and then say, oh, well, this is what we want to do, social and emotional learning, and we want to do. No, bring in a third party that actually
expertise. Yes, I
Not
agree.
somebody's cousin.
I don't want to talk to the guidance counselor with dry eyes.
No, I totally.
Wonder Years.
Contracting
If you
someone
guys are
from
too,
with a political
if you guys are too young to understand that was.
But I totally agree with you, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I'm talking about this person, this student is like struggling in math, struggling in reading, struggling in their classes, and they're acting out behaviorally because something's going on at home, or because they haven't been able to socialize for 2 years. They don't know how to act in a classroom. And what are we doing? Putting a computer in front of their faces and further detaching them
All right, we're not
from
going to be talking
socializing.
nothing about no computer. That's where I draw the line in this conversation. We ain't going to be
Of
bashing
course.
no computers.
We need computers.
Yeah.
We need computers.
Respect your
the
AI
new,
gods,
That's the new
ChatGPT.
age, and we need computers. But what I'm saying is bringing in experts to come in
Yeah.
to have some type of cognitive behavior therapy, some type of mindfulness, so the
Yeah.
students can identify
Yep.
the triggers, identify what's going on, so they don't have to act out in the classroom and disturb the rest of the class. And
Agreed.
with you saying that you were in the classroom and you see what's going on, do you think that that's something that, especially with Jersey City Public Schools, because I mean that's the only thing that I have to compare to. Do you see that that's a need?
It's a requirement. Like it is. It's just like you said, Rashid. Like you have to bring in a third party, or you have to create whatever all that money you got. You got to create a budget where, like for example, and I haven't seen Coach C in a while, but like.
A Coach C is.
Yes.
We had
Coach
the
C is a
Million Men
mentor.
in my school. So, yeah.
You know what
Coach
I'm
C is
saying?
a mentor. Yes.
Where these positions that focus solely on that, because guidance counselors do not do the guidance. They don't. They can be, no disrespect, because I have the guidance cert, but because of the structure, it's like glorified scheduling and secretary testing work. When
Intros
they
to
should be
college,
counseling.
et cetera, and so forth.
Exactly.
It's a part
But
of the
even
machine.
now, they're even taking on discipline, and I think that that's a
Exactly.
huge conflict.
They beating kids now?
No.
Oh,
But I think that that's because I've spoken to some of my colleagues who are guidance counselors, and now they're
It's not what they envisioned, right?
it's
Like,
not what they envision. They are anti-bullying specialists, and it's very difficult to in one breath say, "Oh, Tommy, talk to me about what happened," and then the next minute, "Tommy, I'm suspending you." That is crazy to me. How are you going to trust to talk to your guidance counselor, to open up to your guidance counselor? A guidance counselor cannot be
authoritarian.
authoritarian. No, it's literally it is a conflict of interest. You cannot
Well, isn't
trust.
that the proper structure though?
No.
What?
In a
As far as
nuclear
what?
family, I would play the same role, wouldn't I?
But in a nuclear family, that's really not. When you have a 2-parent household, right?
Yeah.
Right. You have maybe you shift roles at some point, but you're never the same role at the same time. You can't in the 1 minute discipline your child and in the 1 minute say, "Oh, are you okay?" It's not gonna work. It really does not work. It doesn't work because at one point the child is not gonna respect you as the disciplinarian, or the child is gonna think your nurturing is bullshit. Either way, it's the approach is flawed.
Double-edged sword.
Takes a certain type of person
To
to
be
be able
dual.
to do that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It does. I will say that takes like
Yeah,
a-
someone who has a passion for it and
Yeah.
actually went into this vocation with the idea to help people, which is not what happens in the educational system that often. To be
Right.
100% honest. Not
Right.
everyone, of course. I'm not targeting. I'm just saying in general. But yeah, we started to notice. But we are coming to.
We are
towards the
coming
end.
to an end,
Yeah.
and before we come to a close, I did want to talk about briefly your entrepreneurship. We talked about your doctorate program. We talked about you as a therapist, you as an educator, a creator. But I want to get into your entrepreneurship and what's going on at Spot. It's called Spot JC. Yeah, so let's get into that a little bit.
I didn't even give like a formal update to anyone, but people close to me know we closed the Spot down this past summer.
Okay, that was on Wilkinson.
On Wilkinson, yeah. I was relieved because it was just it's a lot going into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I have no regrets about it because we completed that program.
Yes, it was an amazing program.
At White
yes.
Eagle Hall, so it was a success regardless. But I don't know. The nonprofit is still relevant and it's still up and running. So I'm always gonna do the work as
Right,
an
right, right.
entrepreneur. The content is still coming, still out there. But the politics of it, I just don't like it. Right? There's politics in everything.
And
I was going to say,
everything,
yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely, and I understand. I
So you're
agree with you
you're a
1,000%.
true creator, is what
I'm-
it is.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's not
respect
just
that.
You also do e-commerce as well.
Yeah, I do
that's not the only
e-commerce.
business
Yeah.
stuff. 'cause
No,
you-
but I say that
yeah.
because what he said is politics of it, and I get it. You want to see it grow. You want to see
Yeah.
it mess up, but then the red tape and the
Yeah, I don't like
bureaucracy,
that.
all
And
of that.
and don't get me
yeah.
wrong, like you said,
Yeah.
I'm all about my business too.
Yeah.
But within the community, and I'm sure it's like this in a lot of places, there's just so much red tape. So many people don't like this
Bureaucracy,
person. And
yeah.
I ain't got no time for that shit. Let me be an artist. Let me be a businessman, and I'll politic on my own terms.
And as a
Yes.
businessman, you have a line out.
Yes.
And that line
The
is
Hill Childhood Trauma.
yes.
That's like a campaign that I accidentally started, and it has gotten a lot
Can
of
you
traction.
repeat? Can you repeat what it is?
It's Hill Childhood Trauma.
Okay. Yeah.
Where do we find that?
You can go to ibnsharifshakoor.store.
Nice.
Did you hear that? Ibn Sharif Shakoor dot store.
I like that, and I particularly like the Protect the Black Women
Oh, yes, I
campaign
still
that was
have that
going on
too.
as well. That was you were one of the first people to really kick that off, and I
Yeah.
got a chance to see like all of like my queens out there in the community, like Pam and
Yeah.
like Robin and all of them. They were
Yeah.
rocking that. It was just like, yo, that's a beautiful thing. So it's the entrepreneurship, it's the doctorate stuff, it's the mental health stuff, what don't you do? Do you still fly, or you just
I don't rest. That's what
just
I need to do
gallantly
better.
jump? You just
Yeah.
don't rest.
That's what I need to do better. I need to do more self-care.
Yeah.
And
But that's a part of mental health too.
hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Acknowledging when you need to take time for you.
Man, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that.
You want me to lose it again?
Nah.
I
what I'm
like
saying?
that. So
So take your own advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
any way through that is going to be the best way. But like, what is it that you would leave? Like, we're cutting out of
Yeah,
here.
we're
What is
cutting
it
out,
that you're
mhm.
going to leave us with? Something. Me. I always ask for a quote or something like
Yeah,
that.
quote.
Give us something, brother. Something to leave with.
Oh man. Whew, you put me on the spot.
It don't necessarily got to be a quote. Brian asked you to bust no
Yeah.
rounds.
Yeah.
All right.
Just give us something,
Yeah.
whether you got things coming up or something,
Okay.
or you could spit your social media where people could follow you
Okay.
and see your stuff. Just
Yeah.
give the people a
Well,
little
for
something.
those who don't know, everything is my name. So I noticed that clients find me because that's the thing. My name is consistent everywhere. Ibn Sharif Shakoor. But I will say this: moving forward, my advice to everyone is focus on what's important to you, important to yourself, and those who pour into you.
Yes.
If people are not pouring into you, and I don't mean financially, I just mean emotionally, being present, then unfortunately, don't give that any time. Give it to those who give it to you.
And I don't think there's any better way to close with that. Rashid,
Yeah.
do you have anything else that you want
I'm
to
just
add?
going to double down because I say it in a more ignorant way. It
Yeah.
ain't nowhere near as, and I've said this on
Fuck people.
yeah.
Fuck.
I would say, and yeah, it goes towards that. It's like pretty much if you do not benefit me and I do not benefit you, what the hell are you doing around me?
Yeah.
And that's something I say on a regular basis. And Ms. Bermudez.
I mean, on that note, I love it, and I appreciate you for coming through. This is Ibn Shakoor's second time here, and it will not be his last.
No.
We love the energy, and when you come back, we will address him as Doctor.
That's when I'll come
Yes.
back. Yeah.
Doctor.
That's when
Ibn
you'll come
Shakoor.
back?
Yeah, that's when I'll
All right,
come
we
back.
got him on
so
that.
we
We got
will
him on that.
definitely respect you as such, and you will be Doctor Bipolar.
Yeah,
Okay,
right. Call me
you gotta
Doc.
get
I like
that.
that.
You gotta
You
get
gotta
the
get-
hat. You gotta get the
All
hat.
right,
Yeah.
Dr.
So
Bipolar.
I will close with just saying, love yourself. Remember to listen to the cues that your body is telling you, and self-care is important.
It
I'm gonna
is.
double down on that. And on that note, before we leave, I do want to. We always forget to thank Scott.
Scott is
I
the
want to
man.
thank Scott and the
The man
Kearney
behind
Point.
the scenes, people don't even see that. I
Without
ain't kissing you,
Scott,
Scott.
none
but
of this-
I'm gonna throw deuces and thumbs up. I ain't doing none of that.
Scott is the man behind the scenes.
Facts.
He makes all of this possible.
All of it,
Well, I
yep.
want to thank Kearney Point Studios. If anybody needs a studio for anything, you got to reach out. Let us know
Yep.
so that we can link you with the amazing man behind all of this that you see here.
all
We
of
wanna
this
thank-
great content and all of the future content to come.
Absolutely. We want to thank President Anthony Smith, Vice President John Boma, who's always on, and all of the members of B.L.E.S.C and everybody. And Kali, we missed you
And
today.
on that note,
Yes.
everyone, have a great day.
He's
And Miss Bermudez, is there anything? Can you take us out?
peace and love. Peace
So-
and love. Good night.
Till next time.
I love your